So I don't know how many of you guys know about the movie Enter the Dragon with Bruce Lee. If you don't, you should watch it. It's a great movie. Well, this book should be called Enter the SHADOWKAT, and Orchis is not ready. My name is Dorian, this is SCM Comics, and we are continuing our coverage of Fall of X with X-Men number 25. So our story takes place in Central Park in the past, well, at least before the Hellfire Gala, and Kate is talking to a lady in Central Park. Now I don't know if this lady's like a family member or just like a friend, but she knows a lot about Kate. I mean, Kate is sitting in her X-Men uniform, and she's explaining how she can't pass through the Krakoan gates, how every mutant can pass through the Krakoan gates except her. Her head bounces right off of the gate, and she always busts her nose. And the lady's like, well, are you a mutant? And Kate's like, yes, I am a mutant. So then the conversation changed where Susan asks Kate that she knows she's seeing a lot of weird stuff, but does she still believe in God? And the Kate's like, yeah, I still believe in God. And the woman's like, oh, that's great, because that was going to be a lot longer and more difficult conversation if you didn't. So that's all the woman wanted, and she gets up and she leaves. And now we switch to the mansion, which has been abandoned. I mean, there's nothing there, which kind of makes me sad. And now Kate goes from being the only mutant who couldn't pass through the gate to now being the only mutant who can't pass through the gate, ever since, you know, Orchis did what they did to the gates. So she goes through the mansion and she goes up to her old room and she phases through the floor and she takes out these swords and a note from Duggan saying, you will forever be the weapon that made you SHADOWKAT. Now, Duggan is a person who trained Wolverine. He also trained Kitty Pryde, which you're about to see that training here in full effect at the end of this video. So on the next page, we have the Simpleton, and he is reading the Daily Bugle as he reads Mutant Massacre. And he is spinning Orchis' story like all the great fascist dictators do. He's pretty much telling the public that Orchis arrived there just a little bit too late, that the mutants killed all the humans, but once the mutants met their superior forces, that they fled. Now we all know what happened, and we all know it didn't go down that way. But if you don't know what happened in the Hellfire Gala 2023, please check out my video to break it all down. Right now it is really bad for the home team. You see all the Stark Sentinels flying around. Orchis was trying to convince mutants to come into their facilities so that they can help them. Now they're not even trying to do that. They're just rounding them up and sending them off. They keep capitalizing on the scenario of Captain Krakoa attacking the Capitol, but like Tupac used to say, you and I know what's going on. And speaking of Captain Krakoa, who do you think is in the suit? Please let me know in the comments who you think is in that suit doing the things that he's doing. Like I heard Ernie say that he thinks it's Hydra Cap, which that's a really good guess. And I'm kind of lean towards that, but let me know in the comments if you think it's Hydra Cap or you think it's somebody else. And on the next page, we have Fei Long talking to the President of the United States. I'm sorry, Mr. Fei Long, because that's what the president calls him. And Fei Long is even messing with the president, talking about how he knows he's in a difficult position because technically he's a Chinese national, but he brings him in here anyway as a private citizen because he needs his services. And the president's like, hold on, get off your high horse. You said that you was going to take care of Captain Krakoa after he attacked the Capitol, yet and still he runs free. Again, you and I know what's going on with Captain Krakoa. And to Fei Long's credit, he does admit that, yeah, we're still dealing with the worst of the apples as far as that goes, but we did deal with a lot of them. And right now, what we're doing is showing force. That's why I have 2 Stark Sentinels sitting outside your White House, and we are bulking up the defense of the whole nation. And we even got defenses on the moon, and we got war machines that's monitoring Mars to see what's going on there whenever Mars decides to attack. So now we cut back to an Orchis facility, and we're back with the Simpleton, and he's talking to this doctor, and he goes, I understand that prisoner 10 is awake. And the doctor goes, yeah, but the medical procedures that we gave him, he's really not in the mood to talk. And then the Simpleton goes, yeah, but he hasn't chatted with me yet. And he is definitely your paint by numbers typical bad guy. Like, he goes on this huge villain monologue that I'm not going to subject you to. Let's just turn the next page and we see that prisoner 10 is Cyclops. And Cyclops says exactly what I would want to say to this a-hole. He tells him pretty much to go himself. Now, the crazy ass medical procedure that they're talking about is they pretty much sewed his eyelids shut, which is pretty crazy. I must say, he's a poor man Sinister, but that was pretty inventive. And I'm not gonna lie, if you've been reading these X-Men books, Cyclops has been getting over for like the better part of 5 months. And I hope when it's all said and done that he hits this simpleton with his optic blast right in the face, like he did in the Ultimate Universe when he killed Magneto. God, I want that to happen so bad to this dude. So now we cut to the Morlock tunnels where we have Synch, Talon, Miss Marvel, and Rasputin 4 kind of meeting up, talking, and then SHADOWKAT pops in out of nowhere and goes, I'm back, and then kind of phases through the next wall. But then Synch's like, hey SHADOWKAT, we need to talk. She's like, I'm busy. Synch just smiles because he just syncs his powers and phases through the wall right behind her. So then SHADOWKAT's like, I didn't know how annoying I was to everyone until you started doing my bit. And then Synch's like, I thought I smelled blood. Could I be of assistance? And then he lights up the needle and he starts sewing her up, and he starts telling her that I guess Miss Marvel is scared of her. And SHADOWKAT's like, good, she doesn't need to be an X-Men. And then he goes, well, Rasputin 4 thinks that you hate her. And she's like, I did her thing once, going back in time to try to fix things. She's just a reminder of my failures. So the Synch pretty much goes, look, the bad news is that you'll have a scar, which means you're fighting sloppy, because if he was on your game, nobody can even touch you. And then she's pretty much not really paying attention, and Synch goes, look, I can't lose you. Even when I sync with your powers, I can't pass through the Krakoan gates. Neither can Rasputin 4. You're the only one. So you're the only one that can scout and find out things that we need to find out. If you're killed or captured, we're losing one of our best assets, probably the best asset that we have right now. And then she goes, okay, I'll be more careful, and then phases through the wall. So now we switch to Arakko, where we see that the mutants on Earth that have been captured have been sent there. Now, you know how it goes down on Arakko. On the strong survives. So if you're a weaker mutant, you are not having fun up there. And we see SHADOWKAT pass through the gates, and then we see the mutant that the X-Men saved, I believe like 3 or 4 issues ago. It was the issue where they found out that Wolverine's skeletons, they've been pretty much collecting them, and they've been putting like robots into them, and that robot pimp smacked the hell out of Forge, and he pimp smacked Cyclops. Like that was a crazy issue. It was a crazy issue, not an episode. These are comic books, not a TV show. Go Cat. So he's like excited to see her, and SHADOWKAT's like, calm down, don't make a scene. And he's not calming down, and then she phases the sword through his chest and is like, look, I just ghosted this through your chest. If you want this to come out easily, then you need to calm down. If not, things are gonna get messy. So he finally calms down. She explains the situation, and then she's pretty much like, look, I know it's rough and we got a raw deal, but it's going to stay that way for a little bit until we can figure things out. But for right now, if you're a mutant, every mutant is an X-Men. And now she pretty much tells him, I need you to create a distraction. I don't need anybody to see me pass through this gate, which he does. And you see the rules of Arakko in full effect, because he happened to mess with a Arakko mutant who is a lot bigger to him. And now we cut to Mr. Pimp Smack himself, which is Forge. Now, I really like Forge, but you guys gotta admit, the last few issues that he has been getting handled, and it's pretty crazy. But he's like, man, somebody must have spiked my drink, because one minute I was sitting there and I was about to reveal my gift to humanity with tree houses around the world. The next minute I'm on this desolate world, and then he goes to the Krakoan gate and he's like, it doesn't work. That means Krakoa's been shut down, and the first thing he thinks about is the vault, and the children of said vault are now loose. And you know we're gonna cover that, because that's gonna be crazy. So now we cut to Emma and Miss Marvel. Emma's dropping off Miss Marvel to her house. She's in disguise for obvious reasons, and Emma did Miss Marvel a huge favor. First, she wiped the mind of her whole family, but she doesn't wipe the mind to the point that they're at now. No, she went all the way back to when she died and wiped it then, so they have no memory of her dying. So she doesn't have to explain why she came back. She also doesn't have to explain that she's also a mutant, which, like I said, Emma didn't have to do that, but she did. So now we cut back to the Morlock tunnels, and we see, Miss Marvel, SHADOWKAT, Synch, Talon, Rasputin 4, and Emma there. And then all of a sudden, Cap, Deadpool, and Tony Stark show up. Now, Cap's there because, they're pretty much fascists. I'm talking about Orchis. So he fights against fascism. I think I said that right. And also Tony Stark's there for obvious reasons, because he wants to get his company back. And then there's Deadpool, who is infatuated with Rasputin 4, and Rasputin 4 is like, I heard of you, clown, you give me a wide berth. So Emma pulls Kate to the side and is like, what happened when you fell through the gates at the Hellfire Club? And I'm thinking to myself, why is she asking this question? Because Emma can read minds. So I don't know how SHADOWKAT's keeping it from her, but she's keeping it from her. But now she's about to explain exactly what happened. This public service announcement was brought to you by me, Dorian, and the good folks at SCM Comics. The following will have gratuitous violence. Gratuitous, that's a $100 word. Make sure you leave that in there.
Okay, we're still recording.
It may not be suitable for some viewers, but us at the channel, this is right down our alley. Viewer discretion is advised. So at the Jerusalem gate, which is fitting since Kate's Jewish, they're about to leave. They just got finished getting rid of all the mutants, ready to go have some beers, and all of a sudden Kate falls through the gate. So of course they got their guns drawn on her, and they're radioing back, and I was like, I thought you said the gates were closed. And home base is like, confirmed, the gates are closed, not even we can use the gates. And then Kate just kind of realizes right then and there that she can do something that nobody else can do, so she phases her hand through the walkie-talkie so they cannot get back in contact with them. And then all of a sudden her demeanor just changed, and she's like, look, I just killed your radio, I don't want to kill you. You started a war that you can't win, so surrender. She's like, I'll make sure you're treated well, not like you treated us tonight, but this is your last chance. And they just started laughing their butt off, because these are like elite special forces dudes. So, and the one dude's like, well, I guess we'll just tell Central Column that you resisted arrest. You're a high value target on a quiet council trained by Xavier, but looks like we need to take you out. And then Kate's like, you're worried about the wrong teacher. When you get to hell, tell Duggan I said hello. And the dude shoots her, but the bullet phases right through her head. She chopped the hell out this dude's throat, and then takes the gun and then phases it in his head.
What?
Another agent charges at her. She just uses his momentum, throws him, and phases him through another person. She kicks the dude with the beard hard in the nuts, and then phases him halfway through the roof.
Yeah!
So she phases back up through the roof, looking like the girl from The Ring, and these two dudes that start shooting at her, obviously the bullets are passing right through them. She grabs 2 grenades and then phases them right in their bodies, and they explode in horrible fashion.
Bruh.
She runs and phases through 2 other dudes, grabs this one dude, and then phases his suit into his voice box.
He needs some milk!
And then she turns around and punches this dude right through his chest.
Okay!
So this one dude tries to plead with her, and it's like, look, the X-Men saved me. When we was on the Bloom, I got sucked out into space and they saved me. And the Kate's like, I know, it's what the X-Men do. We try to save everybody, including their enemies. But now they're all dead, and she breaks this dude's neck. She killed every Orchis agent on that rooftop in gruesome fashion, and she tells that to Emma. So Emma's like, so now what you about to do? And then Kate's like, I'm about to go kill Firestar.